Hello and welcome to Frankly Speaking, where we dive deep into regional headlines and speak with leading policymakers and business leaders. I am Katie Jensen. On today's show, we speak with Israel's Regional Cooperation Minister, Esawi Frej. As an advocate for peace and Arab inclusion, we ask him whether the recent wave of violence that's seen a renowned journalist and children killed alongside new clashes at the Al-Aqsa Mosque means that peace is even possible during his lifetime, and his assessment of the recently signed Abraham Accords. Mr. Frej, thank you for joining us today. Now, in just the last few weeks, Israel has killed a top Palestinian journalist, killed a 15-year-old Palestinian teenage boy. It's continued to illegally occupy Palestinian territories. It's attacked a Syrian airport, which has left 3 people dead. Frankly speaking, how can you expect the world to believe that you are serious about peace if this kind of behavior continues?
It's not, for me, this government, it's complicated government. It's not easy government. We are from the right to the left. I'm from the left side of this government. We believe that we must renew the peace process and try to calm the situation in the West Bank. We try to do a lot in this government. And the violence that we already saw in the Palestinian territory, it's not easy, but we all the time try to relax and not let the extremist side to push us to a dark place.
Well, it's very difficult to talk about relaxing, though, when we look at the recent death of renowned Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. We saw that she was recently killed. Of course, now the IDF chief of staff has come out and said that no Israeli army soldier would have sought to deliberately kill a journalist. Do you feel that perhaps that's an insinuation that her death was an accident? And if so, what would happen to the soldier who shot at her?
It's not easy for us to see these things, but already I called from the beginning for a joint investigation in the death of Shireen Abu Akleh. I hope that, I believe also that the Palestinian need to have it together with us, and the problem is the situation that leads to it. Too many innocent people being killed, and I'm sorry to say that. We will try to do our best, and that the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh will be the last one, and we can find ways how to be together. It's not easy moment for us because I know that. And
well, you say it's not an easy moment for you, though.
Yeah, I know that these things. The thing that I can say, we should do everything to calm the situation, not to heat it.
Okay, so you say we should do everything to calm the situation, not to heat it. What is your stance then? We heard the recent comments that I was asking you about, whether this death has been a mistake or not. Do you think potentially the death was caused by Israeli soldiers? You've obviously called for the joint investigation. If that did proceed and you did find that Israel was behind the killing, what would happen to the person who shot at her?
Look, this case, it's so insensitive to speak about it, because until now we don't know who killed Shireen. But anywhere, Shireen, it's not with us. It's a huge mistake to lose Shireen. We know that, but we try to think forward for the future, how we can go on by this, to all the time speak about this. It's too you will stay in your place. I said I called from the beginning for a joint investigation, and I hope that the Palestinian side will join us in this investigation,
Okay,
and
well, you
then
say
can
we're
find
calling
and
for this joint investigation.
learn from our mistake and all who involved in
But the
this
killing of a
case.
journalist is more than just a mistake. We've all seen the video footage of it, of her face down in there. She was very clearly marked wearing press on a vest and a helmet as well. And even if her death was a tragic accident, we know exactly who attacked the mourners at her funeral. We saw the attacks by the Israeli police. They were attacking the mourners with batons. They were kicking them so much so, so much so, they almost dropped the casket. Surely she should have been allowed a dignified burial.
I know that, but it's a situation, it's not easy for us. We are in Israel, also in the government. I am from the side who against all these things. We try to build a present and try to correct our treat with the Palestinian society, but there is extremist side from both sides who try to take us in dangerous places. This is the things that I can say in this case, but of course we are against it, and I'm sorry that we lost Shireen, and it's a big mistake. And the journalists, we need them, we should protect them, because it's part of the things that we believe. And there is a mistake over this is the things that I can say in this case.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about your work, because you're in the rather unique position of being an Israeli politician, but with Arab origins. Now, to your credit, you've spent a large part of your career calling for peace in the region. You focused a lot on trying to foster a sense of Arab inclusion. But frankly speaking, tell me a little bit about how you respond to critics who say that your position in the government is purely symbolic.
It's not symbolic. It's not easy if it's not symbolic. This government, it's complicated. It's a new government. Even after 73 years in Israel, to have a government such this, to see Arabs minister, to see Arab party part of the coalition, to see coalition from the right to the left, it's not easy for us, because there is a different agendas in this government. I'm from the left side. My party believe in the two-state solution. My party believe justice for all citizen Arabs, Jews, and within Israel. It's not easy, and we believe that we need to support the Palestinian society, the Palestinian Authority, and renew the peace process, and to struggle for this under the policy of our government. It's not easy. We try to do it. Yes, I am the second Muslim Arab in the Israeli government. It's not easy, but it's a big challenge, and there is no way we part of this society, and we need and we should try to change things inside the government, not just to be outside for tens of years.
So you admit that it is a challenging position to be within the government. Are you allowed to criticize the Israeli government? I know that in February this year, you rejected Amnesty International's charge that Israel is an apartheid state. Frankly speaking, is that your honest opinion, or do you feel that your Arab origins are being used to enhance your country's image?
No. It's not. It's my opinion. In Israel, there is Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Within Israel, we have a lot of problems of criticism of Jewish and Arabs, that the Arab society, the Arab sector is not in the first class with the Jewish. We know that. We have a lot of problems. But this problem, you cannot translate it that Israel is an apartheid state. Israel is not apartheid state. There is a lot of problem between Arabs and Jews, rights, human rights. We know that. We struggle to be equal in equal rights in every field. But to the Palestinian Authority, there is occupation. It's not apartheid. In the Palestinian territory with the West Bank and Gaza Strip, it's conflict. We must, to finish it, we must find solution between the
Well,
Israeli
you
and the
say
Palestinian.
it's not apartheid,
It
but
there
let's
is a
think.
big difference.
Well, I'm going to
It's a
disagree
big
with you
difference.
because let's
Yeah.
compare to somewhere like, South Africa, for example, a very well-known country for apartheid. But even South Africa never had apartheid walls, apartheid roads, or bombed the townships. Even the Donbass Pass laws were very primitive in comparison to the Israeli ID system. How can you dispute somebody like Amnesty International coming out with these facts that Israel is an apartheid state?
Let me say it, I'm not deal with the names and to give titles for the problem for our conflict in the region. We should try to find solution, how to renew the peace process, not just to give title for the conflict. This title will help us to solve the problem. No, we have problem, we have occupation, the Palestinian, we must find ways how to be together, how to have two-state solution. This is my belief. And to put it, it's apartheid, apartheid, apartheid. I ask myself and ask you and ask all the audience, if I give this title, I will help to find solution for our problem here in the region? No, no. This is the things that we need to impress, to emphasize about it. How to find the way to renew the peace process, how to find the way to strengthen the Palestinian society, how to find the way to strengthen the Palestinian Authority, because it's a common interest for all of us, Palestinian, Israeli, the region, the international community, for all of us. And if we all the time apartheid, 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 we'll stay in the same place. Just find a reason how to continue to be enemy. It's not the way. This is my belief.
Oh, absolutely. And a peaceful negotiation is, of course, something that's essential. But I'm purely stating the facts. When we compare South Africa to Israel, there's certainly some noticeable issues in Israel that are much more significant than we've ever seen in South Africa. Now, I will say, to your credit, during your career, you have lobbied quite extensively for the inclusion of Arabic as a language within the official school curriculum. You've also called for the establishment of the Arab Heritage Society. How successful have your attempts been? And for the Israeli society as a whole, have they been welcoming of this? Because you've talked a lot about the fact that the government has left and right. There's two sides. I imagine you're facing some big challenges. Do you feel that the Israeli people are with you or against you with these changes?
It's not easy. I cannot say it differently which side, but in the mainstream in Israel, want the Arabs to be part of the society, but which Arab to be part? The Arab, I want to be part of the society. Israel, it's my state. But the Palestinians, they are my people. I should be the bridge between my state and my people. This is the way, this is the correct way, this is the right way that the majority of the Arab sector in Israel would be there and choose this way.
Okay, so that's what you'd like to see, but do you feel your attempts have been successful so far? Because we've talked about your vision, the fact that you would like to have normalization, you'd like to have a peaceful agreement between Israel and Palestine. That certainly doesn't seem to be coming anytime soon. But do you feel any of your efforts so far at having more Arab inclusion, at having an Arab Heritage Society, at having the Arabic curriculum, do you feel you're seeing any progress within that so far?
It's not, it's too complicated. It's too complicated. The Israeli-Palestinian problem here, it's in the center of the life for everyone in Israel, Arabs or Jews. We should try to find ways how to bring Palestinian, Israeli together and near together. It will be easy for us. That's why the Arabs in Israel, and my opinion, to support any peace agreement with the Arab country in the region around us, because any peace process, any agreement with any Arab country, it will help us to integrate inside the Israeli society, and it will open doors for the Palestinian and promote the Palestinian-Israeli conflict to find ways how to solve it. That's why it's very important.
No, and I agree
Now
with
I
you that
have,
it is
yeah,
important, but to me, the fact that you're not saying you've seen any progress, to me feels like there has been no progress. To me, it feels like you were saying Israeli society are not welcoming these efforts. And to be honest, it's not surprising. You know, apart from yourself and several government public diplomacy, social media channels, when we look at the rhetoric from Israel, the overwhelming majority of it, particularly that in different languages, is very anti-Arab, very anti-Muslim. So how do you try to convince the skeptics that Israel is full of admiration, of tolerance for Arabs, when this is a situation that we are faced with? I mean, you've been at war for close to 70 years.
I understand you, but I have no chance. It's only the chance that we, the Arabs and the democratic Jews, to try to be together and try to be the majority in the country, how to be in coexistent together. There is no way for us. I know that the atmosphere, the vibe in Israel, it's against Muslims, against Arab, because we in general heard the bad things, but there is many good things in Israel happen between Arabs and Jews, and we don't hear about it. To be a Muslim, a minister in the Israeli government, it's kind of how to be together, a kind of coexistence in the country. We start the first step in this government to see an Arab party part of this coalition, the Islamic movement. It's not easy after 73 years to see Arab party there, to see two Muslims minister in this government, and I can't speak anything. I try to influence in the things in this government. It's not easy. We put our foot, it's a hard way, it's a process.
Absolutely, and it is a process. And I will say, you know, credit to you for these attempts at progress and the attempts at change that you're trying to bring around. And, you know, when we look more closely at your work, you've certainly, you know, come to power during a very interesting time for the region, particularly during the recent signing of the Abraham Accords. So in line with your work as a Minister of Regional Cooperation, what kind of hopes or aspirations do you have during this time? What do you hope to achieve?
Look, the Abraham Accords and any peace agreement with countries it signed between governance, between government. My duty, my position here, how to give it go down people to people. This is my position, because I believe the real peace, the real connection between nations, between countries, how to let people to know each other, to be together, to deal with others, to know each other. This is the things that in my office I try to push and to have. I have a lot of meeting between Arabs and Jews, from Emirates, from Bahrain, from Morocco, from all the countries in the region. It's my duty how to let Arabs and Jews to be together, because I believe that if you look that in the last 12 years, there is no meeting, everything between the Arabs and Jews, nothing between them. And suddenly we have Abraham Accords. Abraham Accords in Arabic, it's a saying in Arabic, it's say, بالحركة بركة. In movement, there is a blessing. And after 12 years, to see something movement, there is a movement, Abraham Accords, and the leaders began to meet each other, and we can see. This is movement we need to push it and to try to take the advantages from this moving, how we can reach each other, because I know that the Palestinian-Israeli problem, it's the main conflict, the main issue in the region. But in order to solve it, we need to start with Emirates, with Saudi, with Bahrain, with Egypt, it will be easy for us to find the way to have a solution for all the region. This is my belief. I believe in movement. I believe in movement. Movement, you can choose and let this wave to be in your side and to find the way how to be together.
Well, certainly
This
it was a
in
big
this.
movement, a big moment, a pivotal moment when we saw the Abraham Accords signed. However, with your government choosing to specifically target Palestinian children, the recent clashes and violence at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the continuing illegal occupation, according to the United Nations, of Palestinian territories, don't you feel in a way that it almost embarrasses the Arab countries who have recently signed peace deals with you in good faith?
Yeah, look, the situation between the Arabs and the Jews, the Palestinians, the Jews in the region, it's not so good. We are not in a good situation. Let's say the truth. We tried 30 years ago to have Oslo and to try a new period in the region, and I'm sorry to say that we failed. Now we try to build a new confident measures between the Palestinian and the Israeli and to have the trust. The thing that I believe, you have future and the present. In order to have a safety and a good future, you need to build strong present. Now, when I speak about the present nowadays, the Palestinian Authority so weak. The Palestinian society is so weak. First of all, we must, all of us, to strengthen the Palestinian society.
But you're not, I'm sorry, you're not answering the question, though.
Let us help them to have a good ground, a strong presence, and build the trust to renew the trust between the Israeli.
But that's not what we're talking about. You and I are both in agreement that the Palestinians need a peaceful solution. They need to have their territories restored. What I'm asking you is, how has the relationships between Arab countries like the UAE, who have recently signed normalization ties with Israel, how is that jeopardized with recent violence, ongoing occupation from Israel? How is that changing the relationship? As I said, these countries have signed peace deals very recently with Israel, and yet this violence is allowed to continue.
Look, I know that we look how to strengthen, how to have more normalization and good relationship with the Arab countries that we signed Abraham Accord with, like Emirates and Morocco. In order to open the countries for each other, we need to have a Palestinian solution, and we need to show that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in a new way, and there is a future.
So when will we see that? Because you've had these talks with UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan as well. Yeah. Of course, you had the previous peace deals with Egypt and Jordan. When is it time for peace with the Palestinians? Because you keep saying we need it, but as an active member of the Israeli government with substantial influence, when will we see that time? Will it be within our lifetime? Because the war's been 70 years now.
You challenge me with this question because the policy of our government not to put the Palestinian issue in our priority. We know that you know that we have left side and the right side. We have half of this government who believe in two-state solution. The other half who don't believe in that. It's not easy, but all the government, we are agree together how to strengthen the Palestinian Authority in the economic side. Let us put our pressure in this side, and I hope that we will find the way in the future how to renew the peace process and how we try to have to find the way how to reach something for a political horizon for the region and the Palestinian. I know that. But this government, it's a complicated government. Our policy, it's not there.
Okay, well, you said one of your roles within the government is to encourage this discussion, is to encourage this political cooperation within the region. And there's so much at stake here. Recently we had the World Economic Forum in Davos. The Saudi foreign minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan. Now, he reiterated that there's been no change in the kingdom's position. They say that normalization is not possible without addressing the Palestinian issue. Do you not think that the relationship with the kingdom, the patron of the Arab Peace Initiative, which guarantees full normalization with all remaining Muslim and Arab countries, is that not important enough for another attempt at peace with the Palestinians?
Look, for me, the kingdom, the Saudi Arabia, it's very important. And for the Muslims, the people in Israel, it's very, very, very important. You know that 15% of the population in Israel, they are Muslims. And the kingdom for us, it's the protector of our holy places. It's very important. And the kingdom should play a central role in this region to find a solution, because the kingdom, it's one of the countries that all the Arabs, all the Muslims look for and want to be look for. It's central.
Okay. Well, the concern over Iran is a mutual concern that you share with the kingdom and many other Arab countries as well. So how would you describe the recent Iranian-backed Houthi attacks on the UAE and Saudi as well? Would you classify these as terrorist attacks?
Iran is not only Israel's problem, but the world's problem. And this problem should solve it by the international world. And we see it also in the Houthi attacks in the UAE and the Saudi Arabia. In this case, I'm not a professional about the Iranian, but I'm sure that under my policy, I believe that the international community, the international world, should find a solution for this problem.
But would you classify them as terrorist attacks? The recent Houthi drone attacks on UAE and Saudi in recent months, would you classify them? Would you say they were terrorist attacks? Or how would you describe it?
Yes, it's terrorist attacks, surely terrorist attacks that each country try to push to their interests, and sometimes the attacks use the terror attacks to achieve the things that can achieve in negotiation and other ways.
Well, finally, we're near the end of our interview. I'd be interested to hear, as the Israeli Minister for Regional Cooperation, what are your hopes and aspirations for the region? If you were going to give advice to the Palestinian Authority, what advice would you give them to make peace in the Middle East a reality?
Look, I believe that the region, it's like a big puzzle. The Palestinian part of this, and the kingdom, the Saudi part of this Basel, and they are in the center and the big place. They take a bigger place. I think that the Palestinians should be part of this movement. I believe that they made a mistake not to be part of Abraham Accords, because how I said in the past, when there is a blessing in movement, and the Palestinians should be part of this movement. The Arabs country here in the region, they only can solve or can try to have a solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. My advice to Palestinians to be part of any peace agreement with any Arab country. And I hope the kingdom, the Saudi Arabia, they are the hope and the vision for all the region, will play a central role for any solution in the area. And this is my thing. And the other thing that I need to say, that the Palestinian Authority, all of us, Israel and all the region, should do our best how to strengthen the Palestinian society, because the Palestinian society nowadays in a bad situation, and in order to have the two-state solution and to have the Palestinian state, we need to support them nowadays to build their institution and their society. And the Saudi leadership will be the central of any solution in the future, I'm sure. And His Royal Highness King Salman and the Crown Prince, I believe that they will play a central role in any renew peace process in the future. All of us need Saudi, the kingdom need its movement in this region. Everything will be changed, and we will have a new horizon for all our region. I hope so.
I think that's something that all of us hope for indeed. Thank you so much for your time today. In particular, I know you've recently been recovering from a heart attack. So on behalf of everyone here at Arab News, we wish you a speedy recovery and all the best. Thank you very much for your time today, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you.